Saturn, our planet of restrictions, of boundaries, of structures, of form, all of these things, the great teacher and the mentor, that elder energy, right? The crone energy, the one who really is that tough disciplinary who supports us in being the best version of ourselves, the most mature version, the one that will be with us over time. This planet has moved into the sign of Aries, which Aries is all about the impulsivity, right? Taking bold actions, being the first to do things. Aries is leadership energy. So it's a very big transition also because this is the very first sign of the zodiac. So Saturn has made its way across the entire zodiac through Pisces into Aries. It will go back into Pisces after a few months and then return at the beginning of next year. But the biggest signature that's happening alongside of this is the fact that Saturn is also making a conjunction with Neptune at the same time. And this has been going on since last year. They've been in a wide conjunction. In terms of world transits, pretty wide, but they're getting much, much closer. They'll get within 1 degree this year and then move back into Pisces, and then they will make their actual conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries, which is so poetic because it's the very, very beginning of the zodiac and they only come together every 36 years. So for them to have their joining together, which is form and formlessness, Neptune is like the void state. Neptune is our spiritualizing force, the energy that reminds us of how we are interconnected with all things, of how we do exist in truth on the largest, zoomed out level possible as source itself. And so having these two planets, the planet of form and structure coming together with the planet of formlessness is such a deeply paradoxical energy that we are all sitting with currently at this time, and it is becoming a lot more apparent in this current moment because of both of them now in the sign of Aries, in this new territory together. So we're getting this preview for the next few months, and it's really important to pay attention right now in your own life to see what is going on around you, particularly around this idea of control and of the places where we've tried to assert control over our material world, and also the places where we have completely released and surrendered to something, felt almost like hopelessness, a sense of hopelessness or victimhood, right, to our own lives. Because this is really transforming with this Aries energy here. And so I've seen two sides of this story where if we have been in that space, right, of feeling like I'm creating everything, like I have to have my material world in this certain way, like that very disciplined Saturn energy. And in Aries, it is also this impulse to want to move forward, right? This is a Mars ruled sign. So it's like always moving on to the next thing and creating quickly, much more quickly than Pisces or Earth energy as well. This is a fire sign. And so it's this exertion, right, of where we might feel this impulse to create things, but at the same time Saturn is there now, which wants to slow down, wants to have that discernment, wants to ask us to check things twice, right, to make sure that we are actually laying the groundwork in a way that it is long lasting. But beyond that, with the Neptunian presence there, and Neptune being that great dissolver, the one who just washes things away, it's like the ocean, right? Like it just simply will dissolve form over time. Like it is that immaterial energy. So for these two to be together, it's like any places where we have tried to exert our control to such an extreme degree. And I hear this so many times. I hear the same story, and I'm sure you have too, in various people who've come into a spiritual awakening or are doing some sort of work that is more of the ineffable, right? Like dealing more with what we cannot see in this material world. A lot of them will say I created the life of my dreams, or I had the job I really always wanted, or I had the house that I dreamed of, etc., etc., like the relationship I thought I wanted, all these things. But and I made it happen, you know. But then I woke up one day and I realized I wasn't happy at all, or like I was totally disillusioned, and like, is this all there is? Really, that deep existential crisis, which Neptune can bring upon, both Neptune and Saturn, especially together, can be that kind of sobering questioning of existence, right? And so for anyone who has, like, if you've been on a path of just like checking off things that you're doing in the material, right, it might be a very sobering moment, or a feeling of like, yeah, but is this all there is? It's almost like, because the magic has been taken away, right? The enchantment of Neptune, and of understanding like we're never creating alone. And I hear so many times in like manifestation terminology, people will say like, we are gods, you know, like you're a god of your life, or you're a creator, you are the creator. But there's a very different energy there when we turn this around and we remind ourselves, like, if you say that word, like, I am creator, right? I, separate self, I, like complete individual, am creating everything, right? Very, very different than saying creator is me. Creator is me. So when we come from that perspective, it's like all that is me. Everything I see is me. Very, very, very different perspective. And I feel like Saturn with Neptune together, these are trying to remind us of that truth, of how we create as individuals, but knowing that we never create alone, and that we are never actually separate in any way, right, from source consciousness or from all of the collective whole. And this is also being reiterated on a material level in this earth plane, right? Like, just from the fact that Pluto in Aquarius is making a sextile to both of these planets. So that's a harmonious aspect, and a one where there can be a lot of collaboration going on. So these outer planets are speaking to each other as well. And so Pluto in that place of Aquarius, which is about humanity, which is about the people, right? The collective, all of us here who are, you know, sharing this earth space together. And so there is this moment where I think anyone who has been coming from a place of wanting to exert their will over other people, or trying to control the environment in different ways, who have risen to leadership roles, that it might perhaps be a time of disillusionment for those folks, or a fall from grace, because Saturn can, as you know, the disciplinary, be the one to strike people down from leadership in that way if they're not aligned in some greater way now, because Saturn is with Neptune, with that understanding of we are not alone, and we do not create just for the I, right? Like, creator is me, like turning that phrase around. So we might very well see that, and see people who are actually able to hold the balance between the Saturn energy and the Neptune energy, being, you know, risen up more into leadership roles at this time through the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So folks who are able to speak to that kind of liminal space, or that understanding of like, like the individual self is never a separate self, and how we can actually lead from that place, and what that might even look like. And a lot of us being able to dream bigger from that perspective at this time of Saturn moving through Aries, and meeting with Neptune, at least over the first, year and a half or 2 years of this transit. So very, very big energy. And also for anyone who has particularly been leaning in the opposite direction with all of the Piscean, energy we've gone through, with Saturn having moved through Pisces, which has been a lot already, because it's a re-emphasizing of that Neptunian quality of dissolving. So Saturn's already been going through it. So this is like not necessarily new energy that I'm speaking to here, but I do feel it's crystallizing in a new way, especially as it's moving into Aries. So anyone who's been feeling kind of like a victim, right, to this world, or feeling so much passivity and like lack of control in terms of the material world, or really just giving it all up in a sacrificial way, which is very Piscean, thinking that they have to be aligning themselves with something greater to the point where they're denying their own individuality completely. That's also calling for a rebalancing in as these energies move into or have just moved into Aries. So Saturn in Aries is very much that kick in the butt, like, hey, you do have power as an individual self, and when you understand who you actually are, what your unique spark is, and stop denying that by sacrificing yourself for whatever other people have said is the most important thing for you to be doing that for, right? That is actually where you can shine, right? Like you don't have to suffer in that specific way, right? Like, and I'm just hearing like like the glory of actually suffering for the things that we truly feel aligned with, and that is part of the rebalancing, is like coming into deep sense of self-trust and knowing more what is our unique truth and voice that we are meant to be bringing in through this time, and knowing we are an individual, but we are deeply interwoven into the entire collective, but we have our super unique perspective for a very specific reason. Each one of us brings our own light, right? Our own vision, our own experiences to all of this. And we have things that we are meant to say and that we're meant to share with others, even if it doesn't fully make sense to us yet, right? And a lot about this Saturn too, moving through Aries, I think is kind of reminding us that it's okay to fail and that it's a part of the journey, because I can see a lot of like Saturn moving through Aries as like falling on our face because we're moving too quickly. So just know that's part of the process. Like, this is an experiential time in a way. Like, yes, the things that we are creating probably will be very long lasting, with Saturn moving through this, with all of the outer planets speaking to each other in such harmonious, like flowing ways. The things that we are doing at this time do have a greater impact over long term, but I think it's going to be through a lot of trial and error at first. Like, that might be more rapid pace than we're used to. So it might be like really working out the kinks of whatever it is that we are trying to create, and getting a lot of opportunities to play with that. So just keep that in mind too, and to know that that's an important part of this process as well. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to share. Thank you all. I hope that this offered a little bit of insight. This is such a significant transit. We only have Saturn and Neptune coming together every 36 years. So this conjunction, which is about 3 years, started last year, it'll go through on until next year, is just such a deepening, rebalancing moment for us of that paradoxical energy. So I send you all a lot of blessings as you move through this time and through all of the deeper currents running through the world right now. And yeah, sending much love. I'll see y'all another time. Bye.